All right, as I mentioned, I'm going to exercise whatever my rights are here to commandeer for just a few minutes, and we'll make it up at the end of the day, because I was going to talk a little bit about this. So, this is a conference on taxpayer rights, but in the context sort of the 21st century digital world, and certainly privacy is an issue. And this was what I wanted to insert here was two projects that we're doing, and something that Les said yesterday when he was giving an example about notices and using cartoon characters, but also showing a form and how to work through this. So when I was appointed the National Taxpayer Advocate in 2001, I moved up to Washington, D.C. And I closed on my house in Washington, D.C., and I went to closing. And as part of closing, actually purchasing the house, the lender wanted me to sign a form. Do you want to turn to the next? We'll go a few more. This form, 4506T, which is a request for a transcript of a tax return. And in that form, you give a third party access to your tax return information. And the mortgage lender wanted that because they want to check that what I said on my application about my finances jives with what I've reported to the IRS, because many people inflate their income on the application to get, to be able to pass that. That's in part, some of the problems with the mortgage crisis that we had in 2008 and on. But I was presented at closing, and this is closing. I was presented at closing with a blank form. Now, the law says, one, it has to be signed, dated, you need to fill out to whom the information is going to be disclosed, and the request is only good for a year from the date of that form. They did not want me to date it. They did not want me to fill in who was the third party or any of those things. And I thought, well, you just did that to the really wrong person. So I refused to sign it, which brought the closing to a halt, and they had to call their corporate offices. And I said, why don't you just get your general counsel on the phone? And I won't tell you which large bank this was, but it was a very large financial institution that then got bought out during the mortgage crisis. Okay, anyway, that led, because I was just entering a new job, to a series of brochures that we did called Consumer Tax Tips. And the second one that we did was on filling out your mortgage verification form. And if you go back to this slide, whichever slide we're going to, you can see how we're organizing. It's a little hard to see here, but what is mortgage verification? We tried in really plain language to describe this. What are the potential problems with mortgage verification? Sort of like, why should you care about this? How can you prevent possible misuse of your tax information? And then we go to the next form, and the next piece, this is like a tri-fold document. What should you do if asked to sign a blank form? Just really identifying where is the problem here. And then if you are given a blank form to sign, these are the things you need to make sure need to be filled out. And then, on the back of it, we have our information. So that was just like prompted to me of something that we were doing, very discrete issue. And we tried to frame it in the context of, you're a consumer, protect yourselves. Let's give you the tools that you need to protect yourselves. So that's just one thing that we did. And then, of course, we've got a whole bunch of stuff about how to get more information from another government agency, about protecting your rights. All right. So the next thing is, and let's hold off on this one for a minute, just to give you some background. In the December report to Congress this year, the whole theme of the most serious problems, by law, the National Taxpayer Advocate is required to identify 20 of the most serious problems that taxpayers are experiencing. And we have a new commissioner, and so I thought it would be really good to sort of do a baseline of the IRS as the new commissioner came in. And we followed the taxpayer's journey. That was the theme to the report. So you started with getting information, your tax information, or having answers to your tax law questions, moving into actually preparing your returns, and then getting your returns processed, going through the IRS identity theft and refund fraud filters, where there's a 81% false positive rate on the non-identity theft refund fraud filters, which is shameful, and then getting into audit, appeals, collection, and then into litigation. Along the way, we made the attempt to create a roadmap. Now, for those of you who have never seen a roadmap and have lived with GPS all your lives, You know, a roadmap is that thing that you fold down into a little thing and then you open it up and then you have to figure out how to refold it. And as children, it was like this great thing to sit in the back seat of the car and, you know, figure out how to refold it. But we were like, okay, we're going to do a roadmap. So it took Mary Claire and Laura Beck and myself many late nights and long days in Mary Claire's office. Mary Claire's my director of communications. She's a communication person. She's not a tax person. Laura is one of my senior attorney advisors. And we cut up little pieces of colored construction paper. And then, you know, like appeals was orange. And I don't know why appeals was orange, but appeals was orange. And then we would like post them all over the place as we tried to figure out the roadmap of the taxpayer. And then we tried to do it graphically. And, well, it was just beyond belief. So we broke it up for this report into many different roadmaps. However, we have not given this up. Now we can go to the slide. What we have, and this will be published, we hope, in the June report to Congress. It'll be 48 inches by 48 inches, folded up, so you can see it. But this is just this is the taxpayer roadmap, and it goes to tax return preparation, tax return processing, you know, exam. You can go into collection. We have fast lanes where you go from exam straight to collection, you know, straight to litigation. And we gave up on the roadmap and we went to a metro map or a subway map. Now, the interesting thing about this, and it's actually really neat, like don't pay attention to some of the language because this is just a mock-up, but you know, there are little symbols along the way so that you can tell where the junctions are and stuff like that. Now, the thing is that as we worked with our contractor, Weber Shandwick, to create this map, you know, graphic designers try to make things simple. And they kept trying to simplify it. And what we kept trying to say is, no, no, no. What we're trying to show is the complexity. But it went so against every bone in their body to show complexity that, but I think they've done a fabulous job. But we have not stopped there. Because the point of this map is to show how complex it is. But where digital comes in, and this goes to sort of the theme of the conference, not just using digital to ferret, you know, big data and everything to ferret out taxpayers who are not complying with the law, but how can you use digital technology to assist taxpayers to comply? So what we have in the Taxpayer Advocate Service is for each one of these sections, there's a team of like 3 people, the technical experts assisted by folks in Mary Claire's office. There's an attorney advisor in the group and our frontline technical experts, people who've grown up in the IRS and know how the machines work and the steps work and everything like that. And we are creating a digital roadmap. And what that is based on is that the taxpayer, we have identified at the various junctions here, where is the notice what is the letter that the taxpayer gets at that stage? And every IRS letter has a number. Every IRS notice has a number. So the taxpayer can go online, and it will be for an app or a tablet, put in the letter number or the notice number. The first thing that will pop up is a basic box that will have like 5 or 6. Every single letter will have 5 or 6 common things that will say, you know, what is this letter about? What do you need to do? And at the bottom it will be, where can I get extra help? And that will direct them to the volunteer tax assistance programs, the low-income taxpayer clinics, irs.gov for those who think that that might help, the Taxpayer Advocate Service, etc. That's just the beginning, because at that point, you can click to this roadmap, but a digital version. And within that, there are layers. So if you just want to go to a certain node, you can click down to see where you are now. You can also click to go, well, how did I get here? Because a lot of people don't know that they were audited. And so they've got an assessment that they had no idea that generated, so they can go back in the roadmap. They can then go from that page that tells you where am I now are links to other places on the irs.gov that will give you more information, so you can go as deeply as you want and as your patience tolerates, or you can pull back up to just the big picture roadmap and what you need to know and where do I need to go to get extra help. And that will be the work of a lifetime, but we will have some version of it for the most common notices, like the notice of deficiency that tells people you have 90 days to go to the United States Tax Court and challenge your tax in court without paying the tax first. That's a hugely important notice. That will be one of the notices, and the IRS has 70 of them or something, different notices. So anybody who gets one can put that number in and be able to pull up a basic description, and they get as deep as they want. And there's about 3 or 4 other notices that we're really focusing on right now, but we will have every IRS notice that we can identify on that map eventually. So that's coming, we hope, in December, Mary Claire? Some version. I'm very excited about it. So just wait for June. You can all get your 48 by 48 road map, subway map. Our next panel is on whistleblowers and protections and privacy. So we'll make up the 15 minutes at the end of the day, so don't worry, we're not taking into anybody's time or their lunches or their breaks. Thank you.